gets me going, man.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Mafia Means Family podcast. I'm Mafia Mom.
I am Mini Mafia. Make sure to comment, like, and subscribe.
And welcome today. We're sorry that we had to take off last week. We had some internet issue with the storm and all that. I hope everyone is safe and has power and all that good stuff. So let's get into it today. PJ, what did you think of that? Well, what's been going on with you for the week? We'll start there. How was the storm for you?
Well, the storm was pretty cool. I actually had to go outside and play in the snow with my sister. It was really fun. We had a great time, and it was just really cool. School's been going really well too.
That's good. That's good. What did you do Tuesday at school?
Well, so I don't know if we do this every year, but we did this turkey trot thing. It's where so we had to bring in a permission slip, and our parents have to sign it, and we get to go off campus and run Quaker Church and Palace Drive. I forgot the other street. We get to run
in the area, right?
Yes.
It's by your school, yep.
And all these kids, they can walk, jog, run, or just run. And basically, it's like a competition or just hang out with your friends. And I actually beat my sister, which she's very much faster than me.
She's a little older than you too. Yes. She's a year and a half older than you.
She's a year and a half older than me. She's 11, she's 11 and a half, almost 12. I'm only 10. And I beat her. She came in like 50th place. I came in something 30th.
You did good, right?
Yes.
You beat a lot of older kids. Well, congratulations for that. Let's get into it now. We're just gonna talk about the Browns game. We're not gonna recap the game before. It's just too much detail to get into. Let's move on. I don't think anybody really wants to relive that game anyway. So we'll start out by talking about the Browns game. Now they got the win. How did you feel about it?
I felt really good, but there was definitely a few issues. Josh Allen played okay. Gabe Davis, he did have some drops. The one where he had to go up for it just went right through his hands. He could have caught that.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I mean, it was a solid game. Like, I know it only ended up by being an 8-point win. I don't think the game was really that close. But the Bills have found some insane ways to blow games. So I guess any game any game has the potential of flopping. They finished it out. All around, it was a good team win. I don't think it was a spectacular game. I think Josh played, I don't want to say scared, but he was definitely a little hesitant, which, given that he had, yeah, for sure. Given that he had 2 interceptions in each of the last 3 games, I was okay with him playing a little safer. But it was overall a good win. The defense came up with stops when they had to. And overall, just a solid team win. I don't think we can win like that against the really good teams in the league, but I think we lost 2 games in a row. We weren't playing good. I think we just needed to get a win to move forward. What do you think?
Yeah, me too. I think we definitely had to get a win to get back on track, get Josh Allen back into his mind, get Josh Allen out of his mind, get back in the game, get focused, and just get ready to play good.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And, it was important for the standings, too, because right now the Bills are technically in second place in the AFC East, but we still have our own destiny in our hands because we play Miami again. So we can still, beat Miami and go back to first place in the AFC East. And, again, that is so important because you want those home games in the playoffs. I'm going to keep saying this until it changes. Josh Allen is undefeated at home in the playoffs, and he has never won a road game in the playoffs. It's a big deal. It makes a huge difference to the success. Not having to travel and sleeping in your own bed and playing on your own field with your own fans and all that. And the environment during a playoff game is so much more rowdy. So it means something to be at home instead of on the road. So winning the division is the first step, and it's a lot tighter this year than we thought it was going to be. I underestimated Miami. I still think they're a little overhyped. I think they've gotten fortunate in some places with their schedule and stuff, but all teams have. Either way, they're in first place in the AFC East, and you got to give them their props for that. And they're 7-3. So hopefully Miami and the Jets being so close to us in the standings, and even New England, because New England is 6-4, I think now. So hopefully that will continue to light a fire under the Bills and keep them motivated and get them back on track and playing good football. So a little more details about the Browns game. Who did you have for your player of the game?
I had just the running game. It was really good. Cook and Singletary, they came up big for us when we needed to. They both had 86 yards. Cook went for 11 carries, 86 yards, no touchdowns, and 7.1 yards per carry.
7.8 yards a carry. Yep.
Yeah, 7.8. And Singletary got 18 carries, 86 yards. He went, I'm pretty sure, like 4.1. No,
4.8.
Yeah, 4.8.
Yep.
Sorry, I get 1 and 8 mixed up. 86 yards, 18 carries, 4.8 yards per carry, and 1 touchdown.
Yeah, it was the run game. It was good to see the run game come alive, especially, and this is like every year since Josh Allen took his jump in 2020, we keep hearing how the Bills have no run game. And I don't think that's what it was, but we are a very Josh Allen centric offense. So if Josh isn't playing good, and this has been a streak that we haven't really seen from him before, the way he's been playing lately, but when he's not playing good, you need other offensive production to step up. And I think the run game stepped up really big today. I think, in my opinion, that was the best team rush game without Josh Allen being involved. Like, because sometimes we have more rushing yards, but half of them are Josh Allen. Josh Allen had I think 7 yards rushing in that game. Like he was not the reason why we ran the ball all over the place. And it was really good to see Singletary and especially Cook step up, because I think the way Cook started the year in his career, fumbling on the very first ball, that's got to really hurt a rookie mentally. Like, that's got to really get in your head. And I think it made the coaching staff not really trust him. So I think you can see now they're starting to have some more faith in him. They're giving him the ball in some very important situations where they're relying on him to not just make a play, but to make sure that he doesn't fumble and he doesn't turn the ball over and he makes good decisions. I think that's great because we saw it. We've seen it a few times now. Cook could be a really explosive player. What do you think of James Cook so far this year?
I think he's been really good, especially on those tight 31s. I think he's done pretty well. One reason why I think he's explosive is he's related to Dalvin Cook. Dalvin Cook has been a really good player for really all his years with Minnesota, and especially the very first game, the very first touch that he had in the Rams game, fumble.
Yeah. It was definitely unfortunate.
Yeah.
I would like to, was when we drafted Cook here. Now, we don't watch a lot of college football. Our family doesn't. But when draft time comes around, I'll always do research on different players that the Bills were looking at. And then once they draft them, I look into them. And the big thing with James Cook, the big selling point was his receiving ability. So I think the more and more we trust him in the run game, hopefully the more we'll be able to see that passing game develop too with him, because he is a huge mismatch on, I would say, any linebacker in the NFL. It's a mismatch. The way he can run routes downfield, that's not how most running backs are running checkdowns in the flat and stuff like that. You can actually line Cook up in the slot or outside and have him run legit routes. And
kind of
that's
McCaffrey.
Very similar to that. I think the hope is that eventually he is a McCaffrey-like player. He's not there yet, but that's what they're hoping he grows into. So, but I think you have to get him snaps in order to see that. And the trusting him in the run game is the first step to that. Anything else you want to add to that?
Not really. Just I hope he continues.
Yeah, definitely. I would say that my player of the game would be Matt Milano. Man, he is just all year he's crushed it. In the Browns game, he was second in total tackles. He had a sack. He had 3 tackles for a loss, I believe, and a fumble recovery, and he almost had an interception. Matt Milano's just playing out of his mind. Like, if he doesn't make the Pro Bowl, there's something very, very wrong. Like, we need to riot or something, because it's insane how well he has played all year. Even on the season, he is 4th on the team in total tackles. He missed a game with an injury too. He's tied for 2nd on the team, I believe, in interceptions. And he's 9th in the NFL, tied for 9th in the NFL, in the entire NFL in tackles for loss. That is really impressive, especially because, again, he missed a game. And we've had so many injuries on defense. That affects every player. So definitely been impressed with Matt Milano, and I thought this was one of his best games this year, or in his career, really. He was in on every play. He was impressive. What do you think?
Yeah.
The whole defense was pretty impressive, but definitely Milano. They were impressive in key moments. What about your family meeting? Who would you call in for a family meeting after this game?
Probably Von Miller. He got
I
his.
get that.
I mean, he still did his job. He still played well, but the two major penalties, and the missed opportunities that he had, he was literally on Jacoby Brissett and couldn't sack him.
Yeah.
He came so close. I'm pretty sure after the game, or before, he actually said that he actually played him with when he was in with the Broncos.
Yes.
He's always one of the sacking because he's a really tough quarterback. At least that's what he says. To get down because he's so big.
He is. He's a big guy. And I think Vaughn still played good. Like, if we got that same game out of Jerry Hughes, we would be good with it. But because we've grown to expect more from Von Miller, and he played good, but it was his worst game of the year, I think, so far. You're right. He had Brissett in his arms, and he couldn't bring him down. And they actually showed it during the game, a flashback to when he played in Denver, and he had an opportunity to sack Brissett when Brissett was with the Colts, right on the goal line for a safety, or it might have been like on the 1 yard line. And Brissett shook up, like he got out of the tackle, and you don't see that very often. Usually Von Miller, if he wraps his arms around you, you're going down. So I get what you're saying. It's not that he had a bad game. It's just that we've grown to expect a little bit more out of Von Miller. And the penalties, they weren't huge, but they were just uncharacteristic, and they did hurt us for when they happened in the game. They were just two offsides, but that's not something that he's been doing this year. I feel like Jerry Hughes every game had an offsides, but Von Miller hasn't been doing that. So I'm not worried about him at all. What about you?
Well, I'm a little worried because he's used to tackling Josh Allen. He's 6'5", 230 pounds. He should be able to tackle.
Well, they don't get to tackle Josh Allen in practice. They actually don't tackle in practice, especially during the season. They run tackling drills and like dummies and stuff, but they don't actually tackle each other during the season because they don't want anybody to get hurt. But yeah, I think Von Miller will come out and he'll still be Von Miller this year. I mean, for the rest of the year, I'm not worried about him in any way. But I understand why you picked him, because if you had to pick somebody that had a not so great game, most people seem to be just in between. They didn't have a great game, they didn't have a horrible game, they were just kind of in the middle, If I had to pick somebody for a family meeting, which I wouldn't have really done this week, but if I had to pick somebody, it would be Gabe Davis. That catch he made on the sideline, we got lucky. That wasn't a catch. It should have been overturned. He had the drop over the middle early on in the game. He doesn't seem like, I don't know if it's him and Josh or if it's him, but he doesn't seem like himself the last few games. Maybe the ankle's bothering him. I don't know. He's not getting the separation we're used to. He's had a lot of drops the last few weeks for him. And I'm waiting for him to bounce back. But as long as he's ready to go in time for the big games, I'm good with it. Like, he's still a young player. He's playing more this year than he ever has before. I think as long as he gets it right by the time the postseason comes around, I'm good.
He's only like a second or third year receiver. Yeah. He's a third-year receiver. He played fourth string in his rookie year.
His rookie year, he was the third, but he stepped up. Well, he was fourth, but he stepped up a lot for John Brown because John Brown was hurt a lot that year. But then his second year, he barely played at all.
He barely played. He was, again, another a number 3 or 4. That was the year Beasley left, too. So
we had Beasley and Sanders, and then Diggs ahead of him. Yeah.
So he was a fourth string receiver.
Right.
And he barely got to play. This is really the year he gets to show everybody what he's made of.
I agree.
And so far, he hasn't really proved.
He's had some really good games like the Steelers game, but then he's also had quite a few games, at least the last few, like this. So I definitely I want to see more out of Gabe Davis for sure. But as long as he's right by playoffs, I think we're good to go, right?
Yeah.
All right. So let's see here. So we'll go into fact or flag here. Okay.
I have a question.
Sure.
Can you do Josh Allen first?
No, we'll do that when we get to the upcoming game. Okay. Okay. So fact or flag. You ready?
Yep.
All right. Detroit Lions hold the record for the most wins and the most losses ever on Thanksgiving. So their team has more wins and more losses than any other team in the NFL on Thanksgiving Day.
That's tough. I think it's a fact.
It is a fact. You're right. They're 37, 38, and 2. You know that they have played more on Thanksgiving than any other team. So it would make sense that they have the most wins and the most losses. Okay, number 2. Every team in the NFL has played at least once on Thanksgiving.
That's a fact.
That's a fact. So why are you?
No flag.
It's a flag. All right, you're absolutely right. It is a flag. Do you know who hasn't, or how many teams have it?
I'm guessing at least. Like, I know the Bills, Cowboys, Detroit. Those are really the only ones I know. But I'm pretty sure I know. I don't think the Bengals have. Like, the whole AFC South.
The Bengals are in the AFC North.
Yeah, the AFC North and the AFC South, I don't think have.
Okay. Actually, every team but Jacksonville has.
Oh.
So every other team throughout NFL history has played on Thanksgiving except for the Jacksonville Jaguars. So it's kind of an interesting tidbit.
Well, they're in the AFC South.
They are in the AFC South, yep. All right, so next, so question number 3. Barry Sanders holds the record for the most rushing yards in a single Thanksgiving game. Fact or flag? That is actually a flag. It is false. The record holder is actually an ex-Bills running back from 1976. No. 1976. I don't think you're going to get this. O.J. Simpson.
Oh, yeah, I know who that is.
He ran for
He played for the Bengals, right?
No, he played for the Bills. He's up on our Wall of Fame.
Oh, I thought.
But he's more well known for other things afterwards. We'll talk about that another time. He ran for 273 yards in a single game versus the Detroit Lions. So, and that was all the way back in 1976.
So we've played them twice on Thanksgiving?
We've probably played him more than that. But we're playing him this year, and we definitely played him that year. So, all right. Last question. You ready?
So far, I'm 2 for 1.
You're 2-1. Yep. All right. Cleveland is the only team, other than the Jacksonville Jaguars, obviously, to never get a win on Thanksgiving. So obviously Jacksonville hasn't played, so take them out. Cleveland is the only team to have never won a game on Thanksgiving.
Honestly, I think that's a flag.
You think it's a flag? All right. It's actually a fact. They are 0-3 on Thanksgiving. They're the only team that's never gotten a win.
Well, I'm 2 for 2. You got
2 for 2. That's all right. They're just fun. There's no way for you to know them. So you're doing good on them, though. All right, so on to this upcoming game. So we've played on Thanksgiving now. This is our third game in 4 years.
What about the players to watch?
We're going to do that during this upcoming game. So this is our third Thanksgiving game in 4 years. We're hosting Thanksgiving. So I really, really wish that we weren't playing the earliest game, but it is what it is. How do you feel about holiday games? What do you think?
I don't like them at all. Just give the players a break. They barely get to see their families, except for on the bye week. They practice all week. They play on Sundays. They rest on Saturdays. And just give them like a few days a year off. They play it all year except for in the summer and a little bit in the spring. Just give them holidays off.
I hear you there. I do. It's nice to have football to watch on Sundays, but I wish the players could spend it with their families too. I feel bad for them when they got to travel and they got to play on Thanksgiving. Like they should just get to go home and enjoy being part of their family for that time. What do you think about watching football on Thanksgiving though? Do you like having football to watch on holidays? There's games on Christmas again this year too.
I do. I like them. I like to watch football overall in general. I like it on holidays, but Christmas. Christmas is probably the most exciting for me.
For sure.
Because we wake up in the morning, drink our coffee and mochas, and I just don't like games on Christmas.
I understand that. I don't mind watching football on holidays. I enjoy it, but I don't like it when it's the Bills. Because like when we watch Bills games, I want to sit down and I want to focus. Like I just like having it on kind of in the background, just checking in on the scores, seeing some plays here and there. But unfortunately, the Bills do play this year on Thanksgiving, so they have the early slot. We're going up against the Detroit Lions. What do you think of this matchup? Well, they don't suck, but they've been inconsistent this year for sure.
I think the Detroit Lions aren't that good of a team, but then again, are a decent team. They have a high scoring offense, and a terrible secondary and just overall defense.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think this is a game that we could really get the Bills back on track offensively. I would like to see Josh Allen kind of get out of his head, like you had mentioned earlier. And I think this is a great game for him to do that. He's playing in prime time, which he plays very well. Not prime time, but like it's a single game slot. Like the whole country, it's a national game. He's playing indoors, so weather's not a factor at all. And then on top of that, he's playing up against a defense that has given up quite a bit this year. Um, they're actually at the bottom of the NFL, and they're worst in the NFL in yards per attempt in the pass. So every time a QB attempts a pass against them, it goes for an average of 7.8 yards. That's big. They're also bottom of the league in yards allowed, in sacks. It's their defense just it hasn't gotten the job done this year. So this is a perfect opportunity for Josh Allen and this high flying Bills offense to get back on track.
Yep.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so let's go on to the players to watch for this week. So who do you got?
I think Hamlin and Diggs. Hamlin had a bull crap pass interference last game. He played perfect defense.
Yeah.
He barely put his hand on him. There were way too many pass interferences that have not been called on the other team for us, like the last year with Levi Wallace and Mike Evans. Mike Evans grabbed the back of his helmet and pulled him.
So you're talking about offensive pass interference like that, yeah.
That cornerbacks have done on us and wide receivers that have done on our corners. Referees haven't called it at all, and that's it for Hamlin. He's a young player filling in for Hyde. He's good. I think he'll develop really well. And Diggs, he's our number one receiver. Speed, quickness, and Josh Allen and Diggs have a extreme connection. Since the secondary isn't really too well, I think this is going to be going on some. I think they're definitely going to be able to play action pass. Diggs going deep. I think they're going to be a lot of wide open deep passes, because the Lions secondary and defense. And really that's it.
I think those are great points. I agree with you 100% on Hamlin. I think he's really I talked about him I think last podcast. He's impressed me. He's played really, really well, especially when Poyer's in there. I completely agree with you about that call. I don't like complaining about the refs because every team feels like they get gypped by the refs. Every team feels like they always get the calls against them. You don't remember the calls that go for you, or you don't see the offensive holds when it's your team and when you win, but you notice them all against you. I get it. Every team feels that way. Every fan feels that way. That call on Hamlin was horrible. It was absolutely horrible. He played that perfect. That was a textbook. I understand his hand was on his hip, but he never pulled him. He never turned him. It was a perfect defensive play, and it was horrible that he got called for it. I felt bad because he's a young guy, and he was doing exactly what he was supposed to do. It was a big play, and he got flagged, and he shouldn't have. So I completely agree with you there. Diggs, I would like to see something from Diggs today. I know he got frustrated. I would like to see something from him in this game. I think it's very possible he goes off and has a big game. He was obviously frustrated in the first half. We all saw that against the Browns. I was glad he got the touchdown and got some touches in the second half. I think Diggs' performance last week and Diggs' performance this week have a lot more to do with Josh Allen than Diggs, though. I think Diggs is out there doing what he does. It's Josh Allen and whether or not he can get out of his own head. That's just my opinion. I would say that my players to watch this week, again, I expect the offense to get back on track this week. This is a perfect chance for that. I'm going to go with Josh, which is an obvious one. I want to see him come out. I want to see him throw for, over 300 yards and run for 40 and throw for 3 TDs. I want to see a Josh Allen game out of him. And then my other ones are Shakir and McKenzie. Whoever's playing majority of those slot snaps, the Detroit Lions give up the 4th most, at least fantasy points, to slot receivers out of all the teams in the NFL. So I think they're kind of weak on that spot. And because Diggs demands so much attention, that'll a lot of times free up those other guys. So I would like to see a game out of McKenzie or Shakir, and I want to see Allen go off in this game for sure. So it's all right. So we got our players to watch moving forward. Do you have a score prediction for this game?
I do.
All right, let's hear it.
38-17.
38-17. Excuse me. All right. So you think the Bills are going to be able to light it up? You think they're going to do well? I'm with you. I'm really close to you, actually. I have 38-21. Again, I hate picking Bills game scores because I don't know how much of it is my heart, how much of it is my head and my logic. But this game is perfectly set up for the Bills offense to get back on track and I expect to see it. So we're very close there, 38-17, 38-21, definitely. Do you think we'll be seeing Case Keenum by the fourth quarter, by the end of the game? You think they're going to pull the starters?
I think they're gonna pull the starters like with like 7 to 10 minutes left in the fourth quarter. It doesn't really matter. It doesn't help anything to have Josh Allen in there unless we're losing.
Right. Okay, so you think it's going to be that kind of blowout, though, where we can sit the starters and they're celebrating on the sidelines? I always think, when I think about the Thanksgiving games, I think about that Dallas game a few years ago. And I say, for me personally, that was the game that I knew Josh Allen was different. Like, I've seen a lot of quarterbacks come through and they looked good for a while. I remember one year, Trent Edwards, captain checkdown, who was a QB for the Bills, he looked like an MVP by week 5. He was playing out of his mind. Then he got hurt, came back, was never the same. But anyway, so I've seen a lot of quarterbacks who showed flashes or looked good for a while. That Dallas Cowboys game from a few years ago, from the 2019 season, that game showed me that Josh Allen was different. And that game was the game that I became a full-blown believer that this is our QB of the future. And obviously it's worked out well for Bills fans, and Josh came the next year, really came on. So I think the Thanksgiving games are a little special, at least the way that I look at Josh, because of that Dallas game. And I expect a lot out of him in this game. So I'd love to see them put up 38 points. That would be awesome for sure.
I actually have a question.
Sure.
Have any of our players started on the Lions and switched to the Bills?
Nobody comes to mind, but with 53 guys on the roster, I would think there would be somebody who had played for the Lions at some point. But I honestly don't know. There's no big revenge game stories as far as I know for this week. But that's an interesting question. We could definitely research that later if you want.
Because like there definitely have been some revenge games with the Bills. The Bills-Ravens game with John Brown.
Right.
The Thanksgiving game with Cole Beasley and the Cowboys.
Right.
Those are 2 biggest revenge games.
Yeah, for
and
sure.
I was just wondering if there were any more because it's Thanksgiving.
Right.
Again.
Yeah, none that come to mind, but it is possible that there's some out there. So that was a good question there. All right, so you wanted to do a Josh Allen stat line this week. So what do you got there, kid?
I have 428 yards.
Ooh, 428 yards passing or total?
Total.
Okay.
44 touchdowns.
Wow.
27 for 35, and 27 rush yards.
So only 27 rush yards. So you believe that he is going to throw for 401 yards? Wow, that is I would love to see it, man. I really would. And it's not that I think he can't. Like that would be cool. I would love to see it, definitely. My expectations are a little lower. I think that I'm hoping this is
like 350 around.
I'm thinking 350, probably 40 yards on the ground. I am calling for 4 touchdowns. I don't know, maybe 1 on the ground and 3 in the air, but 4 total touchdowns. Unfortunately, I do think that there will be 1 turnover for the Bills, which, as we learned again in the Browns game, if we win the turnover battle, we win the game. Because once again, we won the turnover battle in that game. We did not turn the ball over, which was great to see, and we won the game. So moving forward, if you win the turnover battle, you win the game. This is just common sense at this point. But I do think that there's going to be at least 1 turnover from the Bills in the Detroit game. It might be a weird tip pass or something like that. I don't know if it'll necessarily be on Allen, but I do think that our offense will turn it over once. So hopefully it comes out like this. This would be great to see, and the Bills would be back on track, right? Yeah. All right. So anything else that you want to add here before we close out?
No, not really.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you for watching another episode of Mafia Means Family podcast here on Mafia Sports Report. I am Mafia Mom.
I'm Mini Mafia. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe.
Until next time,
go
Bills and
happy
Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving. Bye, guys. It was